My talk is on peripheral talar fractures. The fracture of the foot are the most commonly missed extremity fractures because due to its complex three-dimensional anatomy and it's difficult to assess on an X-ray. And its low incidence limits the familiarity among the surgeons and increasing the likelihood of misdiagnosis. Peripheral talar fractures are most often misdiagnosed and rare and are difficult to differentiate from sprains on examination. See, this is the superior view of the talus. You can see my talk is going to be on these are the ones like that lateral process, the posterior process, that's the medial tubercle, and this is the lateral tubercle, this is the os trigonum, there's going to be an avulsion here of the anterior one and the talar head. These are the ones which I'm going to discuss on this. And first is the lateral talar process fracture, and it's also known as the snowboarder's ankle. This is quite common in the snowboarders. It's 25% of these injuries are caused by that because of the rigid and locked construct. Some anatomy about the lateral process. It's a broad-based wedge-shaped prominence of the lateral talar body. So you can see that it's clearly seen on an ankle mortise view. So it has two facets. That's the dorsolateral facet. It articulates with the fibula, and the inframedial facet articulates its anterolateral portion of the subtalar joint. It articulates, and it's also the site of insertion of the talocalcaneal ligament. So mechanism of injury in the cadaver, how it's been tried, it's like an external rotation force on a dorsiflexed and inverted foot. The examination, usually it's difficult to differentiate from an ankle sprain. Tendon is anterior and inferior to the lateral major should raise the suspicion of this. And diagnosis on an X-ray, the mortise view usually places the lateral process clearly on view, and on a lateral projection you can see the V sign. This is normal, and the V sign is disrupted when there is a lateral process fracture. And CT scan gives us the more clearer image. You can see the X-ray may look so innocent, but in a CT you can see so much of comminution or there is a joint depression as well. And treatment aspect, it's just the same for all these processes. If there's any difference, I'll tell you. But usually when it's non-displaced, it is the non-weight bearing cast for 6 weeks, or it's a displaced fracture, it's fixed with a screw or a plate. And when it's late diagnosed or when there is a lot of comminution, usually it is excised. And when there is it's a neglected one with arthrosis of joint, usually a fusion of the joint is done. This is the same for all these processes, all this talar fractures, peripheral talar. And next I go to the posterior talar process fracture. Some anatomy about it. It consists of the medial and the lateral tubercle. This is the medial tubercle over there, which gives the attachment for the posterior 1/3 of the deltoid ligament. And this is the lateral process, which is the bigger of the one and gives an attachment of the fibulo-talofibular ligament. And there is an FHL groove here. And the inferior surface of the posterior talar process forms 25% of the articular surface of the subtalar joint. That's very important. And isolated fractures of the posterior process of the talus are usually in a series where they've done it, 17 out of the 20 patients were missed in this. And the mechanism of injury is usually by the nutcracker compression between the posterior malleolus and the calcaneus during forceful plantar flexion. And diagnosis, deep tenderness anterior to the tendoaqueous but posterior to the talus. When pain on forced plantar flexion should raise a suspicion. X-ray usually when the fragment is large, it's clearly seen, or in a CT will be very helpful to know the pattern of the fracture. When this is the same like what I've said, if it's non-displaced, you have to treat it with a cast. If it is displaced more than 3 mm, then you have to treat it with a screw fixation to prevent any arthritis occurring from later stages. And the fracture of the medial tubercle, this is known as cedial fracture, is usually caused by high-speed injury caused by combined dorsiflexion and pronation forces, and usually associated with other talar fractures. Usually it has to be suspected whenever you have a tenderness behind the medial malleolus and you have a plantar flexion pain, or if there is an FHL irritation post-injury, you have to suspect this fracture. And CT scan will demonstrate very clearly the fragment, the displacement as well. You can see it very clearly here. And non-displaced is the same, how I told you, non-displaced is conservative, displaced is fixed with a screw, and late presentations is usually either an excision or a fusion. And os trigonum, some features about it. It's an accessory bone arising from the secondary ossification setup between the 8 and 11 years, and usually fuses by the end of an year. May remain separate from talus, having fibrocartilaginous attachment with it. And the posterior lateral tubercle of the talus may become elongated when os trigonum fuses with it and is given the Steeda process, the name, as well as the trigonal process. Lateral tubercle fracture is known as the Shepherd fracture. Mechanism of injury is ankle inversion, avulse lateral tubercle through the posterior talofibular ligament attachment, what I showed in the anatomy there. And it also can cause by a nutcracker compression between the posterior malleoli and the calcaneus as well. The examination tenderness over the posterior lateral ankle medial to the peroneal tendon should create the suspicion. And to differentiate between the os trigonum as well as a lateral tubercle fracture, usually the os trigonum is smooth. And when you have a tubercle fracture, the edges are jagged. That's how you differentiate. And the fractures of the os trigonum, and it's quite very rare, but you can see that trapping of the os trigonum in some sports injuries where hyperflexion in certain sport activity lead to os trigonum syndrome. This one here. And both mechanisms lead to disruption of the os trigonum synchondrosis. And this can be brought down by means of the Vedon test. That's the passive plantar flexion with inversion and eversion force. And the MRI is usually helpful in the diagnosis and shows an edema in the os trigonum and posterior synovitis and thickening of the capsule. But before making this diagnosis, we have to rule out the other causes of the posterior ankle impingement pain. Then only we have to come to this diagnosis. Some of that are the arthritis in the ankle as well as the subtalar joint and FHL tenosynovitis. Treatment is usually conservative. It's usually rest, ice, NSAIDs and elevation and cast immobilization. If it doesn't settle, probably we need to give a corticosteroid and an anesthetic injection over there. But usually after a trial for 3 to 6 months of conservative treatment, if it doesn't improve, then probably we have to go and excise the fragment, which can be done arthroscopic also, and this gives an excellent result. And next is the talar head fracture. It accounts for less than 10% of the talar fractures. Presence of ecchymosis along the talonavicular joint should raise the suspicion. It is often an oblique shear across the talar head in proximal medial direction, causing shortening of the medial column. And medial, sometimes it happens like this head fragment fractures and the rest of the talar body goes and itches along the lateral pole of the navicular and gets stuck, and resulting in a locked dislocation of the talonavicular joint. It's undisplaced fracture usually can be treated conservatively, but you have to keep assessing serial x-rays to make sure there is not any progressive displacement. If there is any displacement, then it has to be treated with the ORIF screws. And in this osteonecrosis is quite common due to the inadequate blood supply, and in case any arthrosis happens when it presents late, you have to fuse the talonavicular joint. Anterior talar avulsion fractures is caused by avulsion through anterior tibio-talar capsule attachment to the talar ridge located at mid-neck of talus. Should be suspected when patient presents with ankle sprain with the pain over the dorsum of the foot. And in conclusion, peripheral talar injuries are rare and commonly missed, and low incidence, subtle radiological findings and association with other injuries, especially in high-speed trauma, can lead to misdiagnosis. Missed or delayed diagnosis often results in functional impairment requiring salvage arthrodesis. Diagnosis can be improved if the physician is aware of the existence of these lesions and its radiological clues. And in the presence of positive findings on examination and negative radiograph, you should please do a CT or an MRI to give you more information and plan the treatment. Thank you.